welcome and thank you for joining us today with In the Word Ministries. I'd like to introduce you to Larry Cooke, and I'm your co-host, Shayla Crow. We are excited to have you tune in today.
Yeah, we got some old friends of ours from church that we've known for probably 7 years or so, and we're really excited about having them here share their hearts with us. Anthony and Chandra are just a blessing to so many. They going to share some of their testimony, where they came from and what God's doing with them, because I'm really excited about their future, and I'm sure they're excited to tell you where they're going from here. And so tell me, to begin with, guys, welcome, by the way. Good to see you. Glad you're here.
So excited to have you.
We just want to take you on a journey with this couple that have gone from, well, I don't know where you started. Where did you get saved? When did that happen?
Ooh, 2001 in Willis, Texas.
Willis, Texas.
Yes.
Even in Willis.
Even in
Willis. You can get saved.
Yes. It actually started whenever my daughter and my mom were going to church, and it was my grandfather's church. And they were inviting me to church, and I just wouldn't do it. And then one day, I started going to church with my daughter and my mom. And let's see, where did I start, really? I had a job delivering kidney dialysis to in-home patients.
Wow.
And Lord started working on me through that. Started speaking to me through a lot of people. And got a second job, and was at DSW Shoe Warehouse in the Woodlands. And everybody there were Christians. That's where I met my lovely bride.
Wow.
Really? I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Shoe store. At a shoe store. I like shoes, by the way.
Yes. They're a gift.
And then after that, not long after that, I got baptized. My cousin actually baptized me.
Wow.
Which he's a preacher. My uncle's a preacher. Grandfather was a preacher.
Man.
You
didn't have any
Long
choice.
line.
He had to get saved. Well, that's awesome. I would be afraid to have one of my cousins baptizing me. They would probably
immerse you in the
keep
water.
me down too long.
I wanted to know, how old was your daughter?
At that time, let's see, 8,
Was
9?
she young? Yeah.
8?
I just
Oh,
love
really?
that. I
Yes.
love that.
Okay.
It's powerful.
Yep.
Wow.
The Bible
So-
says the children shall lead them, and apparently
It
the
has.
little one was drawing you into the kingdom.
Yeah, I'd gone to church with my mom throughout the years, but I was never really got involved
Yeah.
as a kid.
Sean?
For me, at Vacation Bible School when I was 7, and just had gone as a child. My grandparents were pastor of a church, and just Vacation Bible School one year. It had been a rough year for me at 7 years old, and it really just was real for me in that moment. And
Wow.
I accepted the Lord as my Savior, and just it's been a journey since then.
Amen. That's a young start. I wish I
Awesome.
was that young.
How long have y'all been married?
Just celebrated 17 years.
Wow.
Praise the
Awesome.
Lord.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So you met at work,
Yep.
and you were at that time were thinking about going into real estate or not?
No, that was
not on the agenda. Huh?
no, that was it was survival mode at that time.
Yeah.
Really. I had I had lost a good job, and so at that time I was just playing catch up, and the kidney dialysis was a temporary thing, and so to make ends meet, I had to have 2 jobs. And at that time, our daughter had, I say our daughter because she is our daughter,
Right.
but she lived with me, not legally, but she did. I mean, she was supposed to be living with her mom. She was supposed to be living with her mom, but she lived
You
with
had
me.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, making ends meet, and then and then I had a son that kind of lived with me part time, same mother, and then I have 2 other kids that they lived with their mom, but to make ends meet, and had the 2 jobs, and just life really was tough then.
Yeah.
And so that's where it started. And then we got married, and I worked for Verizon Wireless for 8 years. Yeah, I started out as a part-time salesperson and made my way up to management. Managed a few stores, and then left Verizon Wireless and went into real estate. Decided I was going to work for myself.
Yep.
One thing we want our audience to know, and the reason one we interview different people and like a variety of different people you'll see over the next year as we bring people in. So I used to think of ministers and people in ministry as these people that went to college. They always knew what they wanted to do. They had planned to go into ministry, and they got their degrees, and they went off to seminary, and that's how you became a minister. But we want you to just see that God's got a call for everybody, and there's a place for you and a plan for you. And I think that's where we kind of want to go with this testimony and their sharing is, they started off just like most of us. It was pretty much we're in survival mode.
Yes.
We're trying to raise a family. We're trying to make enough money to get by and have no real clue what the future holds. But God already had a plan for you guys.
Yeah.
And were you working during the same time that he was working?
Yeah, I was working, going to school, working on my bachelor's degree. So that was tough. Being newly married, I was young, stepmom. Like you said, it was survival. We were really in survival mode. And then as I was going to school for graphic design, and I was on campus one day, and I was walking on the campus, and I just really heard from God tell me that I needed to change my major. And I was like, okay. So I knew he had revealed to me that I was going to be working with kids in my future, and that I needed to get into psychology and child development. So I switched my major. Probably I think it was the next day, switched my major, and just started pursuing that. And I worked for a child placing agency that was contracted with CPS. And then after that, went into kids ministry, and that is an interesting story. I wasn't pursuing that. God called me to that as well, and was doing that for several years, and then I got into real estate with him. So.
Amen. Now, when you say you were ministering to kids, what age kids? What kind of ministry was that?
It was from birth through middle school at the church.
Oh, okay.
So it was just over the kids ministry there, and he was a big part of that. So we were really a team. I had the title, but without him, it wouldn't have been possible. But we worked together leading the kids. He was that volunteer when I had nobody. Like, can you fill in for me? And he'd be there. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But when we started, when we were married and we had our family going to church, we were also we helped out with the youth in the church that we started at, and so from there it's like we've been in from that time on.
Moving towards where we're headed now, and it all has kind of worked together like this puzzle, and all the pieces have fit. Well, at the time we didn't see the big picture, but now we're starting to see a little more of the picture, and then we know there's still pieces yet to be completed of this puzzle, and it's all coming together. So.
I think it's so cool because we, sometimes we get locked in, I think about even where we are in our time and our age and our generation, and everything is this one shot, this one snapshot through this one filter. And I just think sometimes if we zoom out and look at the big picture, you can see just the preparation, just all of that, nothing wasted, such a strong moment of preparation. It's pretty powerful.
Well, that's exciting too, that you listened.
Yeah.
Though, because you were locked into, you knew where you were going, you had your major, you knew what you were going to do with it, and then all of a sudden God just speaks, and how do you know it was the Lord?
because I hadn't been thinking about it.
She said that was not on my radar.
Okay. That was not my thought for sure. So.
I think that's something
Awesome.
that all of us need to hear, though, because I have people ask me sometimes, how do you know God spoke to you? How do you know it was the Lord? And usually it's pretty much, I wouldn't have thought of that. That was not where I was planning to go, so it had to be God or the devil, and I usually know the difference. At least I hope I do.
Right.
So,
Wow.
and just to shift gears like that, you got to know that God's plans are so much bigger than our
Right.
plans, and if we will listen, that He will never lead us astray. He will guide you to where you need to go. So learn to hear that voice and to be aware of what God's plan is. And I've had, I guess, 4 different ministries since I got saved. I had a motorcycle ministry, which I thought I was going to be riding motorcycles the rest of my life, me and the wife. And about 7 years of that, and God said, no, I want you to take a church. And I had a church for a while. And then I started getting into jail ministry, which I've been doing for 30-something years now. And God just keeps evolving it, and I know that all those things that I went through before brought me to the place to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And so I see that in your life, that the different things that have happened to you, and with the kids, it's kind of funny that their heart is now to work with kids, and yet it was an 8-year-old that brought him to the Lord. So he's never grown up. That's not exactly
That's true.
not exactly what he was saying, but
Yeah.
you got to have that heart and that attitude to work with kids. So what are y'all doing now with children? What's your ministry now?
We've been serving at the church, just in kids ministry, and do you want me to talk about where we're
Both still in vocations? Are you both still in
Yes,
vocations?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, doing your real estate.
doing
right.
real estate,
Got it.
and serving in kids ministry on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they work hard in the kids ministry. One thing I've always been blessed is they're so faithful to be there and to work with. What age groups mostly?
Yeah, 3 to
So
6 is typically where.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. And it just like I say, they've blessed me over the years to watch. I don't know, like 6-7 years now. I've seen them working with kids, and to have that kind of a heart to be there faithfully every week. I don't think y'all take a break, and if you do, it's minimal. And I thank God for that. So something happened this last year. Y'all went on a trip.
Yes.
Where'd y'all go?
We went to Kenya.
Went to Kenya.
Yes. And long flight.
Yes.
We were invited by some friends who said, come along with us. Let's see what God's doing in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went on this trip, and while we were there, we just explored a bunch of different ministries, things that people were doing there.
So awesome.
Not just kids things, but just a variety of different
Yeah.
things that we got to witness there to see what God was doing. And we were just really impressed with just everyday people from Kenya and foreigners just devoting their life to serving God and whatever they were called to do. It was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Had y'all had any connection to that part of the world before? Have y'all ever gone into that area, or
No.
No.
all new?
All new.
We'd been on other mission trips to other places, but that was our first time to Kenya.
Wow.
Okay. Where have you been before?
We've been to Mexico a couple of times, just across the border, or a couple hours across the border. And then a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we went to Haiti.
Okay.
And then recently, Kenya.
Okay. And so what happened in Kenya that...
Well, we went and we visited an orphanage. And, of course, we love kids.
Right.
So we went there for a pastor's training. And to a bunch of pastors came in to the orphanage. They'd set it up and hosted for about 100 pastors to come in and for them to do a training. And of course, we went along and helped out. Didn't do any speaking. Let the pastor do all the speaking. We just kind of did all the helping, and I played with kids. I'll admit.
Hey, I can imagine.
And then there was an American woman there that was she was there. She'd been going there for what, 15
Something
years?
like for a long time, yes.
Yeah. So she, her church family had adopted her and was sending her.
Wow.
So she was going for 6 months at a time. Then she would come back for a little 3 months, I think, come back to the States and then go back. So she did that on a revolving for 15 years.
Yeah.
And she had spoke to me and said, she goes, we've been praying for a couple. So something that you guys need to be praying about, to come and to be a part of the orphanage and to be an example to the children as what a mother and father and a married couple looks like. Not that you'll be a house parent, because they have house moms for the children. I think it's like one house mom up to 10 children.
Wow.
So, which is actually a small number for a house mom. Typically in Kenya, there's it's one parent, 50 kids.
Wow.
So, very big difference. But anyway, she asked us to pray about that, and of course my heart just started pounding, and then later on, I told her, because she wasn't there at the time whenever I spoke to her, and that's where it began.
When we got back, we weren't thinking, we're moving to Kenya. That wasn't the initial thought. It was, kind of chewing on it for a little bit, praying about it. And then, life went on, and we just were busy with work and busy with life. And then a few months later, grandkids. And then a few months later, some friends invited us to lunch and told us again about the need, that they had spoken with the director of the orphanage, and that they were looking for a husband and wife team. And we walked away from there and continued to pray about it and press into it. And we just really believed that God was calling us to that from that moment. Mm-hmm. And then we just started working towards it, and everything is fallen in place, and as we make preparations and plans to get there.
So that means you have to quit your jobs.
Yes.
And step out in faith.
Mm-hmm.
And trust God to
Trust
supply and meet all your needs.
Yes.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
We're thankful for our church support and help, and we're going to take you guys on to help and support. We just believe in what they're doing, and our ministry's going to work with their ministry. And
yes.
I don't know if you've come up with a name for your ministry yet, but
we're working on it.
He keeps saying this. Like, you haven't come up with a name yet?
You're like, I have to have a name.
Yeah.
Encouragement. I would
though.
just love for me to be able to share with y'all the name of their ministry and what's going on, and we'll know later, and we'll have them back when they come back and find out more about what God's doing with them. But I know they're going to need support, and I know there are people out in our audience that would love to help. And so when they get back in 6 months.
When do you leave?
November will be our first.
They come back in November, and we'll find out more about what's going on. We're going to have a bunch of testimonies when they get back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And but going to Africa, just packing it up and.
Whew, yeah.
I'd like to know what, you said, I'm actually from the border of Texas and Mexico, and I know you said you've been to Mexico,
Oh, okay.
You've been to Haiti,
Uh-huh.
And I have friends as well that have been, the direction that you guys are going, and I just want to find out, was there, I know that, maybe not a difference, if God calls you, he calls you, but what really was the thing that impacted you so much about being there in Kenya?
Go ahead.
You
go ahead.
didn't decide to be missionaries in Haiti.
Yeah, obviously we know you have a heart for, for children and
Yeah.
for kids, but So cool. I believe God will use you to see families restored even in that. But what's the thing that you think really, because I know when I've been on mission trips, I'm always just, we're so moved in general, I think, coming from the States especially,
Yeah, we're so blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you just to share on what impacted you in being there.
Yeah, I would say it actually began in Haiti. We were standing up on a hill praying over an orphanage, and it was just the breeze was blowing. We were just spending time in worship and prayer. It was an amazing moment, and the kids from the village had come up, and they were standing near us. We were holding them, and it was just like God said, you could do this one day.
Yeah, that's when it began.
We got back, and we just started serving along with this orphanage and helping out here and what we could do as far as shipping, and there are T-shirts to people who had ordered them to raise money for this orphanage, and we just got really involved with them. We loved what they were doing. We were very impressed and just saw how they were impacting the lives of these kids and the lives of the community around, and that really impressed us. It wasn't just about the orphanage, the kids, it was about the surrounding community.
Right.
And then when we went to Kenya, we saw that there as well, and it was just the difference, I guess, was that this is where God was calling us, and we knew this was it. The other one we were exploring, there was nothing wrong with it. It was great. They were doing amazing things, but that's, for whatever reason, not where God was calling us, and that was really the difference.
Yeah, I think it's a testimony of just the right thing at the right time, because you came back and you continued to sow, you continued to plow. You didn't wake up the next day and go, we're going, even in the process of Kenya unfolding, probably quickly. But still, this has really been a journey, from the first time that you stepped foot on the mission field in general. So it's powerful because you came back and you continued to sow and be diligent in what you were doing already here.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Well, I love your heart for kids. That's the thing. And wherever you've gone, somehow you've been connected with the kids, the young people who have just brought you into that place, and the orphanages. And I think that's one thing in our audience is God's got something for everybody. I mean, there is a place for you and your giftings, and you might not even know what they are. I kind of doubt that several years ago that they thought they were getting ready, preparing for Africa to leave and go to another country. And I just want you to be aware. I guess that's, I'll talk about it a lot, is learning how to be aware of what God has for you. And the other thought that I had is, as I was hearing them talk, is they see value in these kids, where I'm sure when you go, if you've never been on a mission trip or never been to another country, you don't see the poverty and the hardship these kids live in, or these people live in, not just the kids, but the hardship they have and the things they go through. And boy, it touches it. If it doesn't touch your heart to go see what they're suffering through and see how blessed we are, there's something wrong with you. You're dead, I guess. But to be touched by that in a way that says, okay, I need to go do something. Each one of us can do something in some way to support people that are going into these countries, people that are just giving up everything. And I think one of the hard things for me, and I'll ask this question, is what about leaving your family, leaving your kids and your grandchildren? How hard is that?
That's been the hardest part.
Yes.
We have moments where we really start to think about what it's going to look like and how different it's going to be, because we see our family all lives nearby for the most part, and we see them on a regular basis, and especially the grandkids, and so that has been challenging. We've cried some tears over that. Over that, yeah.
I think it's such a testimony, though. We haven't really got to ask you about the part of your life of being a blended family. I mean, you really got free gifts with purchase. That's what I call that, to become the mom, in that role. It's such a blessing, but really that's a testimony in itself, because, I'm sure you could share a whole segment on blended families. And God, so this is so powerful to see, really your legacy. How are they with what you're doing?
they're excited about it. I think it's, it's hard because we are used to being nearby. And,
Yeah.
but they're mixed feelings. They're excited, but at the same time, they're,
Right.
don't want us to leave.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the call of God's not
Yep.
always easy.
Right.
There's always some pressure to, especially by our enemy, to tell us. I'm sure they've had voices saying, "Don't do this,
Yeah.
don't go." You heard any of
attacks.
those?
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I have to stay true to what God's promise is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because it's so easy to let our flesh get involved and want to please everybody, and yet we know that the biggest call is what God's called us to, and so to make sure that we don't stray from the vision. Because one thing I know, and Shayla, we've been in ministry quite a while, and we have seen so many people probably give up because they are fears and worries. But those that have pressed through are always blessed. There's so much coming your way, you guys, and we're going to have them back for another segment here coming up, because there's just not enough time to get all the questions asked we want to ask,
still have a
and
few.
to learn about their future, where they're going and what they're going to be doing when they get there. But I just want to pray for you today that are watching, that you might be in the middle of a challenge or a place to, what am I supposed to do? And is God calling me? So we're just going to believe God for you right now. Father, I just ask you for those in the audience that are not sure about the future, but they want to serve God. I just ask you to take any fear, any worry, any temptations that would try to keep them from being everything you've called them to be today.
Yes, Father.
Just remove all that today and bless them in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Like us, find us, love us, share us. We'll see you soon.